Hello everyone and welcome to game 2 in a series between WhiteRa versus Stephano here on Antigua Shipyard. Let's go ahead and get straight into the action. WhiteRa spawning as the red Protoss player over here on the bottom right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Stephano spawning as the pink Zerg over here on the top left hand side of the map. So Zerg versus Protoss here on Antigua Shipyard. It looks like it will be forced cross spawns as both players very friendly with each other, opening up with the good luck, have fun. Now, WhiteRa in game 1, a very long battle. Just, I believe, superior upgrades is really what gave WhiteRa that advantage, especially in the mid game. That those superior upgrades, 3-2 upgrades across all of the ground units of the Protoss army, especially those Archons, really had a drastic impact. Now it looks like this probe, for some reason, heading back home, and I'm not exactly sure the reasoning behind this. Perhaps he's going to be trying to go for a gateway first, or perhaps a forge first in terms of this forge fast expansion, and attempting to wall off this entire front door. It looks as though, yes, it is going to be the forge now, and then followed up with a little bit more probe action in just a moment. The probe now making its way across the map. We'll keep track and see all of exactly what's going on inside Stephano's base, as Stephano going once again for a spawning pool first. Now, one of the reasons why Zerg players in Wings of Liberty can go for spawning pool first more often than hatchery first is the introduction of the Queen. I know if you guys have been watching some of the old Brood War games, spawning pool first was a little bit more of a risky maneuver, just because you didn't have queens in order to inject larvae and get a higher production capacity. Stephano's still sitting with one spawning pool off over here. He is now getting up the hatchery at the natural expansion, so Stephano really gonna start just saturating these two bases, as we now see a zealot making its way out. So WhiteRa looking like he was going for a forge fast expansion and then really not following up with it. We don't see an assimilator. We are going into zealots only, and WhiteRa perhaps looking to deal a lot of damage with some early zealots. The problem will be whether or not enough zealots will make their way across the field. The gateway off over here, still very far on the other side of the map. More units need to be trained. WhiteRa sitting at 24/26. He is going to be supply blocked. He needs to get up another pylon. He needs to train up more probes, and that is never a good sign, as he's now also going into a third zealot. So this is going to be triple zealot pressure, and a very fast zealot pressure that perhaps we haven't really seen all too often coming in from a Protoss player in quite a while. The Zerglings now going to make their way inside here. The Zealots going to get some easy damage onto those Zerglings. The Zerglings now, one of them down to 4 hit points, and all of those units will be backing off once more. Perhaps the probe can even get the killing blow. No, the Zergling already up to 7 hit points here, as the probe now hangs around over here by the hatchery, attempting to back away from the Queen. 2 zealots and a probe walk into a Zerg base. How much damage can they do? I know that sounds like the beginning of a bad joke, but it doesn't look like. It looks like the joke's on WhiteRa, as WhiteRa gonna deal with a lot of Zerglings, as the Zerglings now surrounding the zealots, and now Stephano with a sizable lead. 17 drones versus 22 probes. No lead there, obviously, but he does have a food lead. And with his ability to be able to train up multiple drones at once, you can see that there's now 5 larvae down here, assuming that those will be turned into drones in just a couple of seconds, or perhaps look to see what's happening, especially after we now establish up a third base by Stephano. Stephano training up those drones now, one at a time. Every time he gets up to 50 resources, he trains up another drone. There you go, now getting up to 6, and perhaps going to get into even 7 or 8 more drones, and finally take the worker lead from his opponent. Zerglings on the front door, not going to be able to do very much, especially with that photon cannon now completed. The probe now attempting to find its way over to the third base, will spot the hatchery, and now Stephano knows that WhiteRa knows about that base. Probe attempting to back off once more. A queen now making its way, will be tending to that hatchery in just a few more seconds as the Zerglings perhaps try to intercept this probe. The probe is just going to perhaps get caught by another Zergling. No, not quite yet. More Zerglings now giving chase. Metabolic boost just needs a little bit more time to complete. Will the probe survive? I don't believe so. The Zealots, come in and split up some of that Zerglings. What happened to the probe? The probe perhaps tried to turn around and try to stop itself in order to prevent the Zerglings from getting now free scouting information, as now Stephano running just free inside the base. Zealots now looking to do a bit of a counterattack as the probes turned around and were able to fend off that one Zergling here. The Zergling now just going to hide inside the base as the Zealots try to hold on to the center portion of the map. Stephano sitting on a 60 worker advantage, or 60 food versus 48 supply. 59 versus 48, and now a 9 worker supply, which should turn into a sizable army difference in just a couple more seconds. However, level 1 weapons upgrade for WhiteRa about to be completed. I do not believe the Zerglings have any armor upgrades, meaning they will get two-shotted by those Zealots. Zealots can be able to cut through those Zerglings like a hot knife through butter, and it really shows as a Zealot will be able to take down a Zergling in just 2 hits as opposed to 3. A significant difference when you consider how much damage is essentially lost when you try to take down, when you try to get 3 hits onto a Zergling. Too much overflow as the Zerglings now back around. WhiteRa still sitting on or trying to establish his third base. Meanwhile, Stephano sitting at 86 over 86. He is getting 5 overlords. Perhaps we will see a large round of units come in just a moment. About 14 food behind, and now we see 26 Zerglings being added, and now we may have a bit of a front door bust. The front door has 1 Zealot here. The Zealot does have level 1 weapons upgrade, no armor upgrades, and we'll see whether or not this 1 Zealot with 1 photon cannon will hold off a sea of Zerglings and roaches here on Antigua Shipyard. Zerglings looking to take down the backdoor rocks here. Looks like they will fall in just a second. Level 1 missile upgrades about to be completed, and now the sentries are going to get surrounded. This is looking really, really bad. WhiteRa now placing down some force fields. Zealots finishing off many of those Zerglings. Zerglings now backing up. Stephano still with a sizable lead. Is it going to be enough as those Zerglings are now caught in a very, very precarious situation? Units warping in or already all around them as the roaches continue to this push. Photon cannon, and 1 on the high ground, 1 on the low ground. Roaches just trying to finish off more and more of those units, but not working out all too well. The sentries are just getting destroyed as the stalkers take a little bit more punishment than they should. About a 60 food advantage for Stephano. Stephano could easily start destroying the far side of the proxy pylons here, and then perhaps try to walk their way in, as I don't see any sentries inside the main base. Roach is now going in for a chase, getting in some easy shots on the Zealots as the Roaches now make their way in. 1 poor Zealot going to get caught out of position. No, the photon cannon able to push those units back as Stephano really over-investing himself, but it looks as though Roaches are just going to be coming in from behind and now doing a surround on all fronts. 1 Zealot knocked, or going to make its way in, but not survive for very long, as WhiteRa looking to lose his third base. 3 bases will fall. WhiteRa pretty much no more mining that on that base. Roach is now trying to push their way in. A force field does stop the attack and the aggression, but the Roaches are now looking to take down the Cybernetics Core, or perhaps even the Forge and Gateway, to just make this game completely one-sided. There's a quick cancellation on a building there. More units trying to just warp in, but I believe Stephano is going to take this game. 137 versus 60. WhiteRa doesn't have much of a chance, especially as Stephano is expanding right behind this. And now WhiteRa says GG, well played. Stephano evens up the series at 1 game apiece. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.